This is the root. And this is largely just rhythm beats. Deep, boom. So, you know, take what I'd like you to do. You can do this in a variety of ways. You could just move, or if you've got deep, primal. There are qualities to a dimension. Deep, primal. So if you have something or just want to move, Aikido-wise, this, for example, a lot of ground, not so much that is anything is heavy, but it's root. If I were looking for a basketball player, he would be somebody who's probably pretty thick because that creates screens. And you know, he gets the ball inside and he would be able to finish. So now what I'm doing is I'm doing the fire-water changes. I'm mixing that with, you know, certain movements like cut, thrust, here, and the second change, first change, third change, fifth change, fourth. I got fourth change. This is definitely the Yonkyo change. This is boom Yonkyo territory. But okay. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick tour through. So we're going to go from that one. Second chakra. Different rhythm. See the same movements from a different dimension. This one's kind of interesting because you kind of feel the double beat of it. Primal double beat. There's this. Do a single form. But what you know, whatever level that you know the changes, try that, or if you just want to swing. What you're going to notice in this one is kind of the spaces. This would be kind of where maybe, oh sensei, you know, you get two attackers. You step out of the way and they wouldn't know where you went. Really, just move. Somebody come. So second. See, it's even the same movements seen in a different dimension are very different. Now, the same 2-beat, maybe in the 3-person attack. Now, almost another sub-beat is intricate. So there's a shift. Now, the movements are pretty much the movements, but from first chakra to second chakra, let's switch. Third chakra, okay. Solar plexus, personal power. This is kind of wild. Boom, 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 boom. That's when you almost get the feeling that you're almost everywhere at the same time. Yeah. I would think if this is really Stephen Curry, trying to defend Stephen Curry, probably. So different athletes. I mean, I would say that I don't know this, but I would say Curry was very strong in that third chakra. Doesn't mean he doesn't have other ones. And some people are good because they can operate off a variety of different dimensions. If you're just going used to this and this, if you want to work out, there's that third chakra. Boom, 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 boom. Fourth chakra, heart. Kind of nice counterbalance to the last one. You can be very active in the chakra. But there's kind of a carrying sense to it. Boom, 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 boom. Now a little background coming in. Very active, but not quite like the third. But the fifth. Ooh. This turning or spinning to this. This is the third eye, the sixth. This is deceptive because the actual activity is almost like the whole universe is in a droplet. So instead of not just that, but boom, boom, boom. It's not just seeing the big picture, it's seeing the big picture and little things too. Spiritual vision. Yeah. Crown. So there are movements within movements. Not out there, but what's out there is bouncing off and reflecting what's inside you. So, just, David, any observations?
Oh,
Hello?
I'm here.
Yeah, David, any observations on any of that?
oh.
I'm beginning to feel a where the lines are going through me and where they're going around me.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah,
really becoming aware of when I'm potentially stabbing myself, and when it's moving on a path that goes clear of me, and that's not happening. I'm also hitting myself in the elbow a lot.
Oh. Well, a lot of times, if that's the sharp point, you don't want to jab yourself. You let it pass. See, even though you're getting the side, it's kind of feeling it's passing through you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. See, even when you're raising the sword, it's like something is coming to cut you. It's passing through you, and you cut. Somebody's coming to cut you. You pass. Even though you get all, it's passing through you, and then you cut. I mean, if you look at the comic book archetypes, Superman, things bounce off him, except, I mean, kryptonite doesn't bounce off him. There's a lot of stuff that you kind of look at there, right? But, for example, I think there's John Jones, the Manhunter from Mars. Things can pass through him. The Vision, things can go right through him. And so it's kind of a form of being indestructible is a little different than being denser and stronger and everything. Okay, so boom, 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 boom. So, okay, all right. Cliff, any observations?
Well, I definitely responded to the different music.
Okay, good.
So I don't know how much about the chakras. I mean, I tried to sort of keep it in mind, but chakras aren't really my thing. Yeah. But I was kind of going with it. But the music definitely is my thing, and moving to different rhythm cycles affected the movement and the feeling, and it was kind of more liberating as I.
The point is, you can look up chakras, you can meditate on the chakras, but just listening to them, you get a sense of the chakras. Like that third one, for example, if you kind of feel like you want to work out, put that one on. That's solar plexus, personal power. Okay, all right. Andrew, anything you noticed or anything you want to share?
It was, I got to a place where it was, I think for me at first, it was, the music wasn't what I was used to.
Yeah.
But I just settled and grounded myself per Nado Sensei. So after a while, it just seemed like I just allowed my body to just kind of flow with the music, and I was playing around with this. I was just letting the stick just kind of be a part of my body, I guess, for the lack of better words, being a part of my body. And I ended up doing some things that I wouldn't normally do. Yeah. When I say I just meant the body. Like it just sort of, it did things with the stick that it normally wouldn't happen in a normal form. So I just sort of let that play out.
Well, the thing about the movement, okay, by going through the different dimensions, there's a different feel. Generally, what happens is we have this interior dialogue.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just always going on 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically allows us to show that much of who we are. That much of our self is consciousness. And so as you kind of use the thing to open up, all of a sudden your eye is more going towards self. And what happens there is, you find the actual movement frees up. Yeah,
Yes.
kind of you feel looser, freer, and all of a sudden you start to do things maybe that you don't normally do. All right? Boom, boom, boom. All right?
Very
But
much.
that's because the eye has gotten more towards a trance. It's not getting, how do I do this trance? Oh, 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 oh. And all of a sudden, the movement happens through you because the eye is more in itself is consciousness. It's more transparent. So boom, that goes there as opposed to like, I'm going to go that way or I'm going to go that way. Boom, it happens. In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Cut, up and down, or blah, blah. What Don Juan told Carlos was when you can do something that you didn't used to be able to do, what really changed was your idea of who you are. Movement didn't change. You couldn't do it before. Oh, all of a sudden I can do this. I don't understand why. Because somehow my idea of who I am changed. Okay? So, yeah, it's common. Dorian, anything?
I really
Okay.
pulled out my ears and my mouth.
Okay.
I really loved like popping into this and finding us in the middle of integrating what on the surface might seem like two maybe really different, maybe not really different systems, but like in a process of like explicit integration is the practice, and I was really excited about that.
Yeah.
And then like in the middle of it, it makes sense. Like each of the chakras kind of sort of layers something in about who I am.
Yeah.
With this, yeah, it felt right. It felt full.
You sort of let go. If the eye lets go, if the eye's trying to figure it out and trying to remember this or that, nothing much happens, but all of a sudden it's like there's the motion. Boom, 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 boom. Every movement kind of has a yin-yang opposing beat, but each of those, boom, has a movement or itself within that. So boom, 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 boom. So when we're there, there's kind of an increasing freedom, even though you're basically just doing the fire-water changes. You're doing Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Samkyo, Yonkyo, boom, Kokyo, boom, boom, and the figure eights. Boom. That's all we're doing. And then we combine that with certain things here. Boom, 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 boom. I remember years ago when, I went to a workshop where they actually went through that particular thing with the drumming and everything. And I came back and I just said, oh, well, who am I? I'm just saying I'm a basketball player, and who am I? With because certain chakras predominate. We need all. Some balance in all. There's probably a sense where we are a self that's more fully there. Less I in that dialogue. And you'll find you have gifts that are pretty much, your major highlight, which maybe play to certain chakras, but ultimately you kind of want to okay. So let's see. Let's see. I don't have my clock in here, David. What's the time?
It is almost 12:30.
Oh, okay, so we're about an hour in. Anybody want to replay on a particular chakra? Anybody? No, there was one that really grabbed you?
I thought the sixth one was interesting.
Okay, it's the third eye.
Yeah, because it was like it was kind of like the third one, but it was felt like it was more meditative. I don't know, to me.
Well, it was a more
Maybe the-
meditative, maybe a more meditative version of the third one.
Yeah,
The third one was
again,
good.
like I'm a musician, so I respond to the different rhythms, right?
Well, the third one is really wild. I think you all got that one. If you just want to work out, just put the third one on. What we would do in that workshop, I can't remember what the word, but we just danced to the rhythm of a chakra. Boom, 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 whatever, boom, boom, boom. Right? I think Bruce Lee probably, it's like boom, 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 boom. He probably used music. I'm pretty sure he did. Just try to get out of a right? So anyway, which one was it that the sixth one? Let's just explore that one. We'll put it back on for a little bit. Anyway, that's something that what I'd like to do is just, I don't have a chair, so I'm down here. Just take a second or two. Because we've done all this, the bigger question would be, who am I? But the simpler question, what do I feel here? I would say it's a nice sense of being at peace. I mean, that's a lot of movement. If I kind of, for example, said, what do I feel here? It's almost like, just, I see myself on the screen. I see myself as a pyramid here. Got the support of the root, the base. The crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, kind of small intestine area, root. But the feeling I have is feeling of peace. We're doing all this movement. So take a second or two. Just sit for a bit. What do you have now, or what do you notice now, maybe that you didn't notice before? Because we're not moving. Okay. David, anything you feel like sharing? Set for a couple of seconds. Anything?
I can feel my spine sort of slipping from places where it was sort of tight and just sort of settling down until it feels like it's hanging loose again.
Okay. Yeah, so physically, something's gone on. We haven't done a lot of stretching or gone to some sort of physical therapy, but the spine, starting to feel areas where there was tension that have now released. Okay? Right? Let's see, Cliff, anything?
Nothing other than I have that, you know, I'm sort of calm. I'm relaxed.
Calm and peace, something like that, yeah. Because we've done all that movement, and each of those chakras had kind of their own rhythm or vibration. So we experienced them. And peace, calm, okay? And try to sit down before, and all of a sudden there's all that internal dialogue noise going on. Now, settled into a calm or a peaceful area. Okay? Let's see. Dorian, anything?
This kind of exercise changes what's near and what's farther away from the spotlight version of my consciousness, as opposed to, and even also maybe the floodlight version of my consciousness.
Could you repeat that one time? I missed the first part. We set it up.
What the exercises like this, like I shift what my spotlight consciousness and what my floodlight consciousness are pointed at.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, the spotlight's what you're focusing on. And it's almost like if you have a spotlight, you are focusing on something in that beam, but there's also everything else which by comparison is dark. But there's an inclusive sense sometimes where you can focus on something and the actual area, the quote unquote, the unknown is also there in a type of clarity to itself. So that's the way I would put that one. Let's see. Ooh, anybody else? Okay. David, as usual, I forgot the clock in the other room because I had a bunch of stuff in my hands. So where are we time-wise?
It is 20 minutes before 1.
Yeah, okay. And okay, just made a sound. So we got a little time. We did some movement work. What I'd like you to do is you don't have to actually do the sound. It's just project it. But what I want you to do, don't just think about it, but that sound is going out. In fact, right now, don't actually make the sound. But what I want you to do is the syllable expands. Once it expands, it goes out circularly. Now, the sound O, it expands. It also goes out circularly. Ooh, syllable ooh. It expands, then goes out circularly. The syllable eh, it expands, goes out circularly. And last, the syllable E. E. It expands, goes out circularly. Okay. It's very important you get the expansion and then the circle or sphere. Okay. We'll go through that progression once more. ah. It expands. Or is that circularly or spherically? Oh. Ooh. Yeah. E. Okay. Anyway, that's just an exercise you can kind of do. Again, actually, Ano Sensei in Linda Holiday Sensei's book, and also Nado Sensei. Nado Sensei said, since they told them the sounds go out circular. Or second time for me, they went out spherically. Okay? That sense of calm or at peace after the movement. From doing the sounds, you get the feeling that the piece is a very alive piece. I'm at peace. I'm at peace. So you find, for example, if you do a process, like we're using the sounds, now there's probably a correlation. In fact, in the actual the cassette, there was an insert, and the first couple are ah, o, u, e. So even though you can say, oh no, we've got the Hindu system and we've got a sensei system, which seems to be kind of Japanese, and it's based on the mythology of the Kojiki. We call Jung found is that culturally the same archetypes, the same principles repeat. So whether it's the chakra system or the sound system, there is an interconnection. Again, I think Osensei got sort of upset when people would think of Aikido as Japanese. He says, no, it's universal. But of course, he explained it in terms, through the Japanese language and through the Japanese mythology. And so oftentimes, it's Japanese. Yes, and it's universal. Anybody with the, just going through the different sounds that way, the expansion and going out circularly, anything anybody wants to share? David, anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, actually, what's interesting is when you said is I don't think so. Depends on how you read it, the Kodotama, right? In other words, it's not really, I don't think so. That could, or I don't think so, or I don't think so. And sometimes, if you go through the chakra beats, how you slice things up is really important. In music, you have a beat, da, but you can slice that up, da, da, or da, da, or da, da, or da, da, da. And then you can kind of bring up da, 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 da. It's still one beat. you slice it up, and it has layers. So I don't think so, or I don't think so. Okay, I don't know if that does any good or is illuminating at all. Anybody else? Dorian, anything?
Yeah, I forget what year it was, but I was driving home from Osensei Revisited on that long,
Okay.
long drive,
Yeah.
and I was playing with the sounds,
Mhm.
and I forget there was something about the tiredness of the space that I was in. I think it was maybe using them to stay awake or something like that. But I
Mhm.
began to relate them to a system of elements that comes from a place in Africa that I've been using for a while now.
Mhm.
And now, whenever I use them, that's kind of sort of what they plug into for me, inside me. And I'm tickled by I'm tickled by the thought of getting to share this because um, if if Aikido is really universal, then it also kind of sort of has to speak to what's particular about us, the way that Osensei kind of sort of had to say it using the Kojiki because of who he was and the Japaneseness of it. Does that make sense? Like I'm seeing I feel permission to integrate what Aikido is with the particular things that I put on for myself. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. I know it is tricky. I think one of the things that Nado Sensei heard from O Sensei said, use the Kochiki because, I mean, there's a force, an archetype. Okay. Well, I called it Susano. So I could talk to it and it could talk to me. And then there's another force or another archetype. I called that Amaterasu. So he personalized it, right? He personalized the forces, the archetype. So he had a personal relationship with it. It was Japanese. He liked the Kojiki, the imagery, the mythology. But for him, they were real. I was reading, they reprint them now. These things that Stan Lee used to write, these called Stan's Soapbox. And there's some really interesting ones where he went things like bigotry. And he made a social statement, which actually for his time was very brave. He was a comic book writer in a comic book company. For him to come out and say, okay, I'm going to, on a monthly basis, put myself out there. And these days they're republished. And one of the things that I was reading was he says, our heroes, our comic book characters, to us, they're real. In other words, he couldn't have created that universe, but that all of a sudden he was talking to Spider-Man and Spider-Man talked back to him. Or he was talking to Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange talked back to him. And so I remember different thing, but Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy, first year, great. Second year, pretty good to okay to pretty good. Third year, and that's my own personal thing. All right, because it's all Star Trek. But I think the third year, the writing, a lot of the stuff went down a bit, and so somebody wanted Spock to do something or think something, and Leonard Nimoy refused. He just refused. He just said, oh, no. Spock would never make that mistake, or Spock would never do that in that situation. They actually had to rewrite it. Okay? And so, there's an aspect of Spock and Leonard Nimoy, and said, no, I know. Spock tells me he would never do that. So, that I know that sounds kind of a little crazy, but, the archetypes, a lot of times what we do is we personalize them. And so what happens is that, when you personalize it, it can talk to you, you talk to it. And if you think of some universal force out there, on the other hand, if it's an archetype and you have a relationship with it, you personalize it. Now, for you to say, I am Spider-Man, that's a different thing. If the archetype starts to act through you, it's more like Spider-Man, I am. It's like the Japanese, they can say, desu Jack, it's Jaku desu. It's less I, and Jack is Jack, I am. So, it's almost like, the actual sense of what Sensei was doing is sometimes translated as kami gakari. Or basically, he allowed himself to be possessed by these beautiful, powerful, intelligent forces, which he called kami. So he was kami gakari. And he had his way of kind of personalizing his connection to them. So they could come in and, okay, so, some of that stuff is actually very important. If you personalize it through the I then you go to a deeper level with yourself. You hang out with the forces. Then you can give them a name. Okay? Boom. All right? I might call, was it the god Pan with the flute? I might call that Chet Baker. Personalize it. Okay? Okay, but anybody else with anything? Want to share about the kind of maybe the sounds and the sitting? Anything?
So I've done several kinds of sound systems in my time.
Okay.
Like I studied Japanese a little in college, so I know that the vowels go on the chart of, like, if you're looking at a chart of hiragana or katakana or something, you have the different vowels in Japanese. But I've also, being a Western singer, used the solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and being Indian music, which I've spent many years doing sitar, but also vocal music, we use the sargam system, which is sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, right? So that those syllables, which are consonant vowel combinations, have different kind of resonance in different parts of your sinuses and all of that. And so I was just noticing the different sounds as sounds, and it's it's its own system, but it's got its effects.
Well,
And
sound is vibration. So if you, for example, were to break some of the ingredients of Aikido, there's stillness, silence, peace, whatever you want to call it, right? There's space. There's breath. And there's vibration. So you go I, U, E, O, or A, O, U, E, I, or I, E. You can do the syllable system, that we use in English. It's all vibration, isn't it? So, for example, by going into each of the chakras we did, has its own rhythm or vibration. So, after a while, I mean, you can think one system of syllables is holy and the others aren't. I guess there are like 75 sounds in Japanese, since it references those a lot in creation. But, one of the things that I kind of play with, for example, is that, you, with this, all right, there are various winds. Boom. There's various winds and sub-winds. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? The winds. You're the kami, if you will. All right. Now, it may start out there, or when you're doing the movements, every wind out there also just in your body space. Boom, 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 boom. And each wind has a song. Now, the song out there can activate the corresponding song inside you. And I think with O-Sensei, he was so good that the songs originated and he activated the forces, the corresponding winds outside. So when you're doing a series of movements like this, boom, boom, there are how many winds swirling, and they're all, one is connecting, the internal is connecting to the external. They're playing the same song. And boom, 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 boom. And as you get a little, boom, 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 boom. It's almost like right here, boom, you're hitting a wind chime, boom, that activates a note here. And the wind is creating a whole series of sounds and some chimes going this way and that way. Sometimes I do this, it's almost like it's activating the different chakras, so to speak. Root, the crown back to the root. And each of those is kind of like a wind chime. Boom, boom, boom. And descending word. Boom, boom. And then when you kind of get that, then all of a sudden, you start to create the different winds. Boom, 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 boom. And as you get the synchronization to some degree, what happens is boom, 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 boom. And I think I mentioned this earlier. There are beams that appear. They can either go out from you or they can come here. There's really a double system. And you ask me what the beams are, they're light or Sensei might call it love. Boom, 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 boom. So, there's physical movement. And then, what he's talking about is really the hidden world, the world of energy movement. Boom, 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 boom. Tap that bell, it activates the bell here. Tap that bell, it activates it here. Tap that chime, boom. Series of chimes, boom, starts to activate here. As you get the things in tune, beams start to emerge. They both come out in or in to out. And you call them light or you call them love. I think that's the beginnings of what O-Sensei called the divine realm. Okay, light, love, things like that. There's light and love running around out there, but it's not. It's this hidden realm. But as you get the balance in the hidden realm, all of a sudden, boom, things start to kind of happen here. Boom, boom. Okay. People would say, they would attack him, and then beams of light or something would come out of his body and they go flying. All right. If there was an attacking intent, he was set up so well that all of a sudden, boom, these beams would emerge. Okay? And people, you would describe it, and people say, he's kind of crazy. But, he does go through that quite a bit. So sound, vibration, light, space. Anybody else with an observation? Okay. Andrew, anything there? Nope. It's even that motion. A series of chimes. Then you hit them on the way down. Boom, boom. One note. One note. One note. Okay? That's kind of Tojiwa Sensei's cut. Not so. But, he would warm up like. And you can be swinging, getting exercise, but you're activating the different chimes. Or you're activating the different winds. Each of them with their song. And then on the way down, your own corresponding interior set of those. And then one note, one note, one note, one note, one note, one note. You can use kind of a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, di, do. That works too. It's really the structure of the universe that O-sensei was talking about. And you can't say it's just, you've got to use the Japanese. I tend to because I studied there. Okay. And so I tend to use the Japanese system. And that was O-sensei's system. He never bothered to explain it all that well, or he explained it extremely well, but he left it for us as a koan. Okay. You see what I mean? Okay. I mean, if I play music, for example, a lot of times, for example, when, with a horn, you don't blow into the horn, there's breath. And then the horn itself picks that breath and creates vibrational patterns. But one of the things that's very similar with the horn is that you sense, in fact, a lot of the air, controlling the air column in the trumpet is an awful lot like, this would have a sharp tip. It's a steer. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. So what I find is a lot of times when I'm playing the horn, I'm actually practicing the spear movements. Boom, 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 boom. And a lot of times when I'm going, for example, you can go here to here, even faster, but it's 2 set movements. Bum, 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 bum. Even though it was to that is boom, boom. Not a bum, boom, 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 boom. And that's a lot like a basketball movement. Boom. It's a crossover move. Boom, boom, boom. So boom, boom, boom. So anyway, that's I tend to, you find archetypes in everything. Okay, the Stephen Curry archetype is the magician, Dr. Strange. All right. I don't know, who was Michael Jordan? He's coming up now because there's no sports. They're putting an ESPN series of documentaries on him. So all of a sudden he's in the news again. And, he's Zeus throwing down a thunderbolt. You see that most athletes, are really, if they're really good, you can say, oh, that's their archetype. Okay? They might not even be conscious of it. Boom, 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 boom. So anyway, we covered a bunch of stuff. David, what's the time like?
It's 8 minutes after 1.
Oh my gosh.